Hey everyone, welcome to another video on the X5. I thought it'd be useful to go through some of the running costs, any of the issues that I've had in nearly 3 years of ownership. So if you're in the market for an E70 in 2022, I thought it'd be kind of useful. So let's get started. So before I kick off, I just want to say thank you to all the people that subscribe to the channel at the moment. It's getting a lot more popular. Really enjoying creating this sort of content. I've got sort of 10 plus ideas that I want to get on camera. So if you want to subscribe, stay tuned and check out what's coming up, then please do. That really does help me out. So yeah, let's crack on with the video. Okay, I've got a few notes here, so in case I forget anything, because there's quite a lot of detail in here, and I tend to forget things, so always write it down. So yeah, let's start with the buying process, really. It's an '08 X5 E70, and it's a 3-litre SD, and it's the twin scroll turbo. So it's about 280 brake, 0 to 60 is under 7 seconds. So yeah, it's no slouch. Quite surprised by the performance. So yeah, really good. I think it cost over 45k when new. So yeah, huge cost to the first person who bought it. Just to give you a background, before this I had a 325i E91 Touring, which is a lovely car. Really enjoyed that. And then obviously previous to that, the 340i. Which was amazing, dream car for me. Had to go for the house, but you know, that's the way life goes. I was sort of looking at something like an XC90 just for a bit more space, and then I sort of stumbled upon this one that was about less than 2 miles from home. So I went and had a look at it. Thought, yeah, let's go for it, let's buy it. So I bought it pretty much on the spot. It had a few issues, however. So yeah, over the kind of course of the two to 3 years of ownership, I've sorted quite a few, and I'll run you through all those issues. So thinking about kind of the issues and how much they cost to fix. So to give you a guide, I've tried to include labour in all these. Obviously that differs from wherever you are in the world. So let me take you through some of those. So got a bunch of notes here. So yeah, I paid about 9,000 for the car, which at the time was about right, given it needed quite a few things doing. So the previous owner had quite a lot of work done, which I was quite pleased about because they were sort of well-known issues. I'd done a bit of research on them. So firstly, on the test drive, the offside front wheel bearing was making a complete racket. So that was a kind of bit of bartering power there. That needed to be done, which I had done straight away. That was 268 pounds, including labour. Again, that's probably expected. A hell of a job. Yeah, I was sort of stood behind Steve, my mechanic, and yeah, hell of a job. One of the big jobs was the parking brake. So the actuator, I think they seize up or they just become faulty. So that was replaced. I think even the switch was replaced as well. This one. I think whether it was that switch, I don't know. But yeah, so that was replaced. What else did he have done? And also the rear suspension airbag, lower wishbones, and obviously the new battery. They were all sort of common faults, so I was kind of safe in the knowledge that some had been done. And so I think, yeah, it spent upwards of 1,700 quid, or there were receipts for 2-3 grand overall. So yeah, I was kind of safe in some of that had been done fairly recently as well. It needed 2 new tyres. They were just getting low. They weren't worn particularly well, so there was alarm bells with sort of tracking, but I'll come to that in a second. And tyres are expensive. They're about 200 quid each, but I'll get in more detail on the tyres shortly. So the sat-nav DVD was the original one from the car, so it was from 2008, and it didn't have half the roads around my area. I'm in the beautiful Berkshire at the moment. as you can see outside. And yeah, it just didn't have all the roads on, so yeah, we need to update that. That was just a kind of eBay jobby, 10 quid, so that was job done. The tailpipes, just the trims were corroded, so that meant just a bit of paint, so I guess a tenner or so in supplies. They were chrome before. I quite like chrome on sort of older spec BMWs. I think they work well, but just getting them re-chromed just wasn't worth it. So we went sort of satin black just to kind of match the rest of the area and the kind of diesel sooty area. So the parking sensors at the front were kind of erratic, so even when you weren't near anything, they sort of were going off. I've done another video on that, so if you want to check that out, see me kind of tearing my hair out, getting to the bottom of the issue, so check that out. It needed another battery, so on the paperwork, the battery had just been done fairly recently, which was great. However, we were on holiday about 400 miles away and we got stranded, so the car wouldn't start, there was nothing. And it turns out that the garage that had fitted it, a well-known high street garage, I shan't name names, they'd not only put in the wrong battery, but they hadn't coded it to the car. So this was news to me that they had to be coded to the actual car. So again, took it to my specialist mechanic just down the road, and he fitted a new BMW battery, so it was direct from BMW part, and coded it. So that was 234 for new battery and coding, and we've had that for 18 months and been absolutely perfect. The two inner rear lights, they weren't working. Water ingress, as many BMW owners know, that's an issue. And I tried to fix it, but they were too badly corroded. So for two new ones, it was 140 quid for the pair, just the inners. And they look great, nice sort of LEDs. They're obviously the pre-facelift, but yeah, well worth doing. And that's original parts. Cracked spring, which that was when I literally had it a week, so that was self-inflicted, hitting a pothole, 210 quid. Front discs and pads needed doing sort of 6 months in. That they were quite expensive, so they're 450 quid, but they're big old pieces of iron. They're very, very, very heavy. I don't know what size they are, but yeah, they're a hell of a thing. So that was 450 quid. Air conditioning regas, so that was £50. So tyres. So after fitting the two new rear tyres at fairly great expense, 200 quid, I noticed the wear wasn't all that even. So sort of alarm bells started to ring. So I decided, okay, let's just do a four-wheel alignment. Let's get it straight. Whenever I get my cars, I like to get them as near perfect as possible. However, when I took it in to get the alignment, they couldn't adjust the camber because the camber bolts were knackered, the tie rods, the track rods. So it had rear camber bolts, an inner tie rod, and track rod had seized, so they had to be replaced. So all in, the alignment cost, including the alignment, was about 315 quid. So again, that's just down to corrosion and kind of the good old British salty roads. But it had to be done, and it tracks beautifully. I have heard that it might come out of alignment at some point, but we'll just get that redone again. It's a big 4x4, so it's obviously going to sit a little bit strange. As in the tyres that I replaced them with, so I did 4 new tyres because the fronts were now becoming a bit low. So I went for run flats purely because this is a family car. My wife drives it the majority of the time, so I don't want her to be stranded on the M4. So I've gone for the Dunlop Sport Max GT run flats. Fantastic tyre, they wear really well. I've already had kind of the rears on those. I did replace them after, I think, about 15,000, so they've done really, really well. And the rears are 315 35 by 20 inch, 20 inch rims, huge. I think that's partly due to the reason for the cost. And the fronts are 275 with a 40 profile, so a little bit thicker profile. And again, that's 20 inch. So all in, with various discount codes and the like, was 860 quid, including fitting, recycling. So let's say 8 to 900 or 8 to £1,000. It's not bad, that really, considered the size of the tyres. But if you have to do that quite often, then it does get very expensive. So that would be my sort of biggest warning. If you're expecting cheap tyres to kind of run on this, then yeah, it's entirely up to you if you don't want to go premium, but the premiums are very expensive. Sunshades. So in the back we have, obviously it has the built-in sunshades that you can sort of see there. But what I actually did was install sort of the plastic shades. I kind of came across them as sort of a solution to kind of permanent tinting. I've got another video on that, so if you want to check that out, then yeah, click the link. And they were about 160 quid. The parcel shelf, so is a dog guard parcel shelf. Again, I'll show you. And the reason I bought that is just I prefer to have sort of a netting between all the kind of junk in the back. And that was for a used one, so his original BMW part was 130 quid. But I managed to sell the old one for 70 quid, so yeah, neither here nor there really. Services can range, obviously it depends where you take it, between 100 and 300 quid, so standard service really. Obviously you need to consider it's a 6-cylinder, so you know, obviously more spark plugs, but you know, it is what it is. Annual tax, so this is a bit of a kicker, 360 quid, which I was expecting worse. It's not quite in the 500 quid plus bracket, but yeah, it's a big expense. There's something else to consider there. MPG, interestingly, so obviously this is a 7-seat version. It's quite heavy, and I'm getting about 27 miles to the gallon, which isn't too bad really. I thought that's pretty good. I have had it down as low as 24 at times, even lower when it's sort of fully laden with a roof box. But 27 is a sound average, and considering again it's a two odd ton SUV, I don't think that's particularly bad. I've had a lot worse in slower, smaller cars. So, and I reckon the car is now worth, I don't know, prices are a bit crazy, but maybe it's worth between 5 and 7k, just because it is a good one. But yeah, I think as well a lot of parts are available. There's a lot of X5s in the UK. They sold really well. I think this one is actually the best selling. I think I might be wrong. Maybe the F15, but I think the E70 was one of the best selling X5s. So what have we got planned for the X5? Well, there are a few things that need sorting out, which I haven't admittedly sorted out. The first thing, and this was like it when I bought it, are the cracked trims. So on both sides, oddly, so on here, I don't know whether you can sort of tell, they're sort of cracked. The laminate is sort of cracked on the wood. I really like the wood actually. It's a bit strange having sort of with the aluminium finisher, but I really like it. I think it works really nicely. It's kind of period to kind of 12 years ago. It's kind of period correct to the car really. So that needs doing. I'll perhaps do a video on that actually, because I think it must happen to quite a few. I don't know whether it's kind of sun damage or anything. You get it in kind of hotter countries, but I thought it'd be quite an interesting video to do. The rear brake discs, I've had new pads in the rear actually. I can't quite remember how much they were, but the discs, yeah, Steve said to me that they'll perhaps need looking at in sort of 6 months' time, so that's fine. There's a slight oil leak that needs investigating. I think I can see where it's coming from, but again, it wasn't kind of flagged as anything major. But again, I'll perhaps investigate that next time we take it in. And I plan on sort of keeping it for another year, really, at least. I think it's surprising me because I'm not an SUV fan. I'll do anything not to drive one, but actually it surprised me. It drives really well. I don't think it's much of an off-roader, but then, you know, it's not doing too much off-road. I'm actually off-road at the moment, but yeah, in the main it drives really nicely, and it does hide its weight pretty well. You do feel it when you sort of under braking, but and yeah, it's got some real pace to it, and I think that was the clincher when I was choosing between this and the XC90. The pace is really quite surprising, really. So yeah, if you're in the market for one, I think a lot of people tend to get in them and are perhaps quite shocked at how the performance is, how good it is. I'll perhaps do a driving review soon, actually, because I think there's a lot to it. I think if you're considering it and sort of worried that you're losing out on some of the day-to-day fun driving, it'd be interesting to do a review, actually. And obviously I've driven the 340, which is probably the kind of higher performance end of the BMW range, so I've got a good sort of idea of the comparisons. It's nothing like that in some respects. I think it's very, very different feeling car. But yeah, maybe a drive review will be quite an interesting video. So stay tuned for that one. So yeah, I'm actually looking for a second car. So I'll need another car for commuting and various other things. And that one's going to be quite an interesting one. It won't have to be a family car necessarily. So yeah, stay tuned for that. It could be quite an interesting purchase. So yeah, exciting times. Many thanks for watching. If you want to get the latest on what's going on my channel, I have an Instagram page, Gs_drive. I'll put the link in the description, and I'll usually post kind of the latest stuff in there. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you found it useful, please give it a thumbs up, and a subscribe also really helps to keep the channel growing. So thanks again as ever for your support, and stay tuned, more content coming soon.